Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So this is a complete change in pitch, tone and direction again in this channel because I am nothing but unpredictable. Now look, I'm being honest, I want to talk about something that's actually been sticking on my mind for quite a long time, and I don't really know how to talk about this in terms that is not going to call me some kind of name, and I don't really care about I don't really care about the labels. But at the same time, I do understand why people would assume certain things. So I can understand your concerns if you are feeling like you want to call me a name, but it's not about that. I promise you. I literally couldn't care about the thing that you're thinking I'm thinking. I just care about the truth. And I love my country, and I want the real version of history, and I want the real version of my society and why we're living like this and what's going to happen in the future. And this channel, I think, is just an expedition through the bullshit of the mainstream and corporate media that is, let's be honest, sanitized history to the point where we don't know anymore what is truthful and what is completely fabricated. The point being, I've watched a video just recently that kind of solidified all of the things that I was thinking about personally regarding the Second World War, etc., and what we are facing today as a reality of that into one video. I mean, not the whole thing, but you get the point, right? The point being, I've seen something that I want you to watch, and I want to talk about it, and in order to do that, I need you to listen to a preamble, which I'm about to give after this preamble, talking about the video. And all of this is just to preface the fact that I am not the thing that you think I am, which is amazing in of itself. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. So look, I'm not here to spoon feed you with some sanitized version of history, because the history that we've been taught about the Second World War, it might be possibly a complete lie. Not a little lie either. A big, fat, ugly, deliberate lie. You see, you've been told that it's black and white. That the ultimate evil of white people is the bad guy, the white devil. The guys said the ultimate evil. And the Allies, especially the British Empire, rode in as these heroes to save the day. But who exactly wrote that story? Who are the winners? Because, I don't know, the British Empire, in my eyes, they didn't really win that war. We see the truth of that. We can feel it every time we leave our front door. No, we didn't really win that one, did we? So why do we keep swallowing this version of history that doesn't seem to be true? Can anyone answer that? But let's start with the ultimate evil. You've been told that this was some kind of cartoon villain, this Hitler guy, who just wanted to kill all the Jewish people and take over the world. You were told as a kid that he's the worst person in history. If you actually asked a child today, right, seriously, if you asked a child today, who is the worst person, who is the worst person ever? They're all going to say Hitler. And then if you ask them why, all of them are going to say, because he tried to kill the Jews, or something like this, right? I mean, that's if they know who he is, because, let's be honest, most kids these days are fucking retarded. But is that history? And that's the question. Is that history, or is that just propaganda? Who was he really? What were his real motivations? You see, they've been buried, they've been ignored, they've been gaslighted out of existence. He didn't just wake up one day dreaming of world domination. His eyes were on the east, the Drang Nek Osten, if I said that right, the drive to the east. He wanted Lebensraum, he wanted living spaces for the Germans in places like Poland and the Ukraine. The West? No, not really. Britain? No, couldn't give a shit. France didn't care. America couldn't care less. He didn't want war with them. He actually admired the British Empire. He saw them as potential allies moving forward against the Soviet Union. So why exactly did it all go down the way that it did? Why was history curtailed? Why was an empire of people that were joining together suddenly forced apart? Well, Because Britain, specifically Churchill, and I'm not saying he's a super bad guy, but I'm certainly not saying he's a super good guy, they wanted war. In the days of the British Empire, I can understand this, like going to war with another nation must be pretty easy. You want to destroy that, people? Yeah, sure, let's go for it. Destroyed, there we go, simple as. But forget what you've heard about Churchill and, being some kind of noble saviour. I just want to say this, he's not a noble saviour, he's just a guy. He had his politics, he had his motivations, same as anyone else. People could argue that he wasn't necessarily a warmonger, but, on the other side, what's the definition of one? Because let's not forget, right, Hitler made several peace offers during that time against the British, or for the British. They let the British army slip away at Dunkirk when they could have slaughtered every single one of them. He didn't see the British as the enemy, and he never wanted the British to be the enemy. He wanted them to be the allies. That's in his written documents, guys. This is not my opinion. It was Churchill who saw Hitler as the enemy. He saw Hitler as the threat to the British Empire. And I can understand it. I really can. If you've got an emerging power growing in Europe, you can understand Churchill's antagonism towards that person. And the reason why maybe he was proactive in going to war. I'm not saying that any side is right here. I'm just trying to tell you my interpretation of what I've learned of the truth since leaving school. You see, Chamberlain gets flack for appeasement, but just maybe he wasn't the only one with actual sense, knowing Britain wasn't ready for a war, we didn't want a war, we couldn't handle a war on that scale, and we were run by people that were used to dealing with, let's say, inferior people from different continents. But Churchill didn't care. He pushed for war over Poland, backed by people, by the way, that we, shouldn't talk about. A country, by the way, that Britain couldn't even save and gave to the actual fucking Russians at the end of the war. The whole point was to save Poland, and then we ended up just giving it to the fucking Stalinist wankers in Russia anyway. I don't get why history is pointing us as some kind of good people against some kind of bad people when we're morons. And this is not even guessing, by the way, to the juicy part, the juicy part, which we're not allowed to talk about. And for those in my audience who are Jewish, I do like you. I don't mind you as a people. I have no problem with you at all, actually. But like anyone with an ideology, you have certain problems, certain people within your group that you probably need to call out more in order to protect yourselves from repeatedly getting kicked out of countries. Just saying, you should probably, at least at one point, you should, at one point, you should go, there might be a pattern here. And like everyone knows who watches this channel, I like patterns. So anyway, the juicy part, not the juicy part, you racist wankers, the juicy part, juicy, the Rothschild Bank. You see, when Germany took over Austria in 1938, they liquidated the Rothschilds' assets, one of the biggest banking families in Europe, tied, by the way, very deeply into Britain's financial system. Weird, right? You see, Hitler wasn't just going after certain tribal wealth, he was striking at the heart of the global banking order. And by the way, as you've seen recently in Syria and you've seen in Libya, what happens when you mess with that system, that particular system? Napoleon, Gaddafi, Saddam, they all tried to break free of that international tie between certain groups of people, and they all got destroyed. Weird. Germany in the 1930s, by the way, is exactly the same. Hitler ditched the Versailles debt trap, rebuilt Germany's economy without, by the way, bowing to the international banks, and suddenly the whole world's trying to destroy Germany because they tried to invade a country that they gave to the enemy. The Rothschilds, their liquidation, wasn't just the start of it, but it's just a piece of the puzzle. I'm not saying that's exactly the moment. I'm not saying that's the whole thing. It's just a certain aspect that we don't get taught in history that we should. Because it's a pretty big part, let's be honest. And Britain and its allies didn't just give the fight to Germany over Poland. They fought to protect their financial overlords. And that's what I'm trying to get at, right? I don't think the war was over Poland at all. It had nothing to do with Poland. The war was over a banking institution that wanted complete control and domination over the entire economic system that runs the world. And they've been doing that ever since. And we've had more and more wars ever since because certain individuals in certain countries stick their head above the parapet and say, I don't want to do this anymore. And suddenly their entire country is destroyed. Maybe, and I'm just saying maybe, Britain and the British have been captured for a very, very long time. And we never even knew it. Well, that's a very long introduction to this video. If you sat through this, I applaud you. Thank you very much. And I don't know, just watch it, guys. It's going to be good.
Many myths exist about the Second World War that have never gone away, even until this day. But perhaps the most prevalent of all, especially here in the United Kingdom, is the idea that if Hitler had had his way, we would all be speaking German, and the United Kingdom would become some kind of puppet, brutal dictatorship. This couldn't be further from the truth, however. If you take even the closest look under the surface, you will discover a very different reality. The fact of the matter is that Adolf Hitler had absolutely no intention of taking over the United Kingdom or implementing the German language there.